Hey guys! So I know I haven't talked about music a lot this year, mainly just because I've been so focused on work when music is kind of like what I do most of the time, and also pop music has been kind of like a giant dumpster fire. Like, usually I can respect pop music while it's not my thing. Usually I can be like, okay, I get it, but like Katy Perry's record was a dumpster fire. Taylor Swift's like, what the fuck was that? Like, this was the year that Danielle Bregoli got signed to a record deal. That's great. Cool. Cash Me Outside has a record deal, and there's like a million bands in Seattle that are fucking amazing that don't get noticed for shit. Cool. And I mean, I guess it kind of matches with how much of a dumpster fire this year was. I mean, look at what happened to Brand New. They put out a great record and then they're canceled forever. So science fiction would have been on my favorites of the year, but nope. But that brings me to what this video is, my favorite albums of the year. So I have a playlist set up on Spotify with some songs from my favorite albums of the year. So if you follow me on Spotify, please check out that playlist. I know I haven't been very good at making playlists this year. I've made a couple in the last like month or so. So if you are curious about any of the bands that I talk about today, there's a playlist on Spotify where you can get just a little taste of the records that I quite enjoyed. So these are in no particular order until I get to like the last two, as I tend to do. So the first record that I absolutely love this year was Haim's new album, Something to Tell You. The singles that came out were great. I saw them perform on Saturday Night Live. I love Haim. Like, I really liked their record when it came out a few years ago, and I feel like they kind of like didn't get the same type of like publicity for this new album, but I really like it, and I feel like it's like a natural progression for them. It's a little bit older, a little more grown up, and like Danielle is like, goddamn, girl can like sing her face off. Like, I love Haim. I want to see them play live again. I haven't seen them since that one time at Sasquatch where I got this awesome photo of Estee. But yeah, Something to Tell You by Haim is my first favorite album of the year. So good. Next, we have one that I actually have on vinyl. We have Scavengers by My Goodness, and these guys played the very first month of this season of Band in Seattle, and I was so excited. I got to do their episode. I love these guys. I've been listening to their music for probably like 5 years on and off, and this new record is great. The art is really cool too. I love things that are just like a little bit gory, and it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird art, but I love it. Scavengers. Yeah. I love this natural progression that they, pretty much the entire theme of like all of the records that I'm talking about this year are like, these bands have progressed. Cool. I love My Goodness. Those guys are awesome. They're a great band and great dudes, so I've seen them I don't even know how many times this year. Okay, Band in Seattle. Their record release, Fisherman's Village, Capitol Hill Block Party. I swear one other time after that, and then Freakout Fest. So at least like 6 times, probably 7. I like them a lot. Good dudes. Okay. Next is an album that I only recently found out that was actually coming out, and I went to go see them play a few weeks ago. Sleep Well Beast by The National. And I didn't even realize The National was coming out with a new album, and I only found out because my friend Chris was like, you have to hear this new song from The National, and I was like, wait, what? And then like 3 days later I realized, oh, they're playing in Seattle like tomorrow, and the new record, it's gotten like mixed reviews, but I really like it. I really like I'll Still Destroy You. It's a great song off the new album. The National is one of those bands where it's not like they do no wrong, but it's like up until now they haven't done any wrong. Matt Berninger was like stoned as fuck when they played in Seattle, but like, oh well, it's Seattle, when in Washington. But yeah, Sleep Well Beast is a great album, and I love The National. Next we have Algiers, The Underside of Power, and I saw these guys play back in, when was it? Early summer, I think that's when it was. I'm not quite sure. It's a great album. Like, this is a band that doesn't shy away from making political statements, and this fucking album is proof of that. The song Walk Like a Panther is like, oh, it's good. It's so good. It's heavy, it's loud, it's like got electronic elements to it, but it's got a lot of bass, it's got some like chanting, it's just all kinds of stuff mixed together, and they're a great band live. I saw them a few years ago, and Ravenna actually opened for them. And then I saw them again this year where my friend Will's band opened for them. Yeah, Algiers, Underside of Power is like, if you want to like scream and feel some shit about society, by all means, it's a great album for that. I mean, to be completely honest, most of the stuff I was listening to this year were not albums that were put out this year. I was listening to a lot of older stuff, and then like Run the Jewels came out at the very last bit of last year, so I was just listening to them, I was listening to a lot of hip hop, but like hip hop that didn't come out this year. So if you follow me on Spotify, you will see my most played shit of the year, if you're curious, and it's a lot. Next, we have Concrete and Gold by Foo Fighters. And Foo Fighters are one of those bands that I'm like, every time they put out new things, I'm excited. Because I love Dave Grohl, and they're coming to play over Labor Day weekend, which my mom has bought tickets for me, her, my uncle, and then one other ticket, depending on who wants to come with us. And I love the Foo Fighters. The video for Run is so great. Like, it's so ridiculous, and it's all the proof you would need for why I love Dave Grohl so much, because he doesn't take himself so seriously, but he still is so unabashedly, earnestly a huge music fan. Concrete and Gold is great. They performed on SNL last week. It was awesome. I will love them forever and ever and ever. Next is another local band, Homosexuals' new record Monolith. I've talked about them a couple of times in the last couple of videos, and oh my god, this new, bigger, heavier, louder, fuller sound from Homosexual is so exciting, because they were already like big and loud and heavy and full, but it was just 2 people. Now there's 5 people, and it's just like whoosh. They put out a making of this new record, which I will link to in a card, because it's so fucking funny. And they kind of have that same appeal to me as Dave Grohl, in that they don't take themselves so seriously. Like, they have action figures of themselves. Like, they made action figures of their own band, including like a van and like an eagle, and it's so cool. And these guys are some of the nicest guys in town, and I really hope that they blow up, because they fucking deserve it. Like, it's so okay, now we're getting down to the wire. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 left to talk about. Next is a Canadian band that I've actually known personally for about 4 or 5 years. Is it 5 years? I don't know. The Light in You Has Left by Douse. And this band changed their name in the last year and a half, so that kind of marks a new sound for them. It's a lot heavier. It's a lot like, I don't know, it's got more like edge and attitude to it, and I was so excited when this record came out, because it was so different than what they were putting out before. We tried to get them on band in Seattle, but the timing never worked out, and they're a local band from Vancouver, and I highly recommend that you guys kind of dig deep into the Canadian music scene, because it's so hard for those bands to actually play here, because it costs so much money and it's so much of a bureaucratic bullshit fest that sometimes they just don't see the need to play in the US. So if you are looking for some new bands, dig into the Canadian music scene, because there's undoubtedly somebody that you're gonna love that you just haven't heard of yet. But Douse's new record, it's great. If you like Daughter, you will like Douse. I swear to God. It's a little less like feels and a little more like feels. So yeah, if you remember any of the videos I put out at the beginning of the year, I was like sharing their shit all the time. I Am More Directed is the anthem for this year for me, 100%. It's a great song. It's a great album. Okay, I know I said that like the last 2 were gonna be like difficult, but like the last 3 are actually really difficult now that I've looked at my last 3. I'll mention a couple of honorable mentions before I actually get to my last 3. First honorable mention is Kesha Rainbow, and I'm mainly talking about this because Praying is just something else, man. I haven't even listened to the whole record yet. I've listened to bits and pieces of it, but that song particularly this year, it's very poignant and it's very relevant, and the video is beautiful. Like, I went and watched a bunch of her live performances of it the other day, and the way she does it live, it's so painfully perfect, because it's not perfect in the way that she doesn't reach all the high notes, but it's like you can hear the pain in her voice, and it's, oh boy, it's good, and it's beautiful, and it's painful, and it's like. The next honorable mention is Sincerely by Dude York, and this band has blown up this year. Holy crap. Not only has Sincerely blown up, but they put out a fucking Christmas album called Halftime for the Holidays. So I will link you to that record below because it's fucking awesome. They went caroling around to all the record stores in town, which is just ridiculous and great. And they played a show last week with Naked Giants. I missed it, but yeah, Dude York Sincerely is a great album, and they deserve all of the fame they get because they're such a good band. Like, they're such a good band. This is like partially like records that were consistently in my ears this year, and also just like stuff that was fucking good. So the next one, God, this is so difficult. Oh my God, this is really hard.
That's what she said.
Okay, next. Spoon Hot Thoughts. Spoon Hot Thoughts, it's so good. Like I mentioned before with The National, Spoon is a band that literally can do no wrong because they never have. Like, every album they've put out, I have loved. I don't know what it is about Brit songwriting or about the way they mix their shit or about what they're doing, but everything they put out, I love. Gimme Fiction, Girls Can Tell, Gaga Gaga Gaga. Every Spoon album, I love, and I can thank my friend Renee for making me listen to them. Hot Thoughts is great. I Ain't the One, Can I Sit Next to You, Whisper, I'll Listen to Hear It, Do I Have to Talk You Into It? Oh, it's just so good. Do I have to tuck you into it? I love this album so much. I'm so excited to see them play next month. Next, this is like painfully difficult. This pains me. Noah Gunderson's White Noise. You've heard me talk about this shit lately. I went and saw Noah's other band, Young in the City, like last weekend because he invited me to this cool cheap date thing that they're doing every first Thursday of the month at Chop Suey. They're doing $5 tickets and $2 beer specials at Chop Suey. Noah Gunderson is curating the whole thing. Look that up. Look that shit up. Oh my God. So, but Noah invited me to take pictures. This record, I'll link you to both of the articles I wrote about Noah this year on Seattle Music Insider, both the one that was the album review and then the show review when he played at the Neptune. But I have listened to Noah Gunderson's music for 6 years at least, and this album to me marks such a progression in Noah's musicality and his style, and he's grown up. And this thing, it came at such a good time because as much as I have always loved Noah's music, I've kind of grown out of the kind of indie folk, sad acoustic guitar folk. I've grown a little bit out of that. I was so excited to hear this and so excited to get this album, an advanced copy, to listen to it for like a month before it came out. I listened to every song on this chronologically when I first got the download, and every song, specifically Wake Me Up I'm Drowning and Send the Rain to Everyone, chills the whole time. Basically, this record, it sounds like Noah Gunderson locked himself in a cabin in the woods in the rain and listened to a lot of Radiohead. I love Noah, like, I love it. I love the art. It's just so minimalist and cool, and I'm glad that Noah's music progressed with my musical taste because as much as I love Carry the Ghost and Ledges, I feel like if he would have put out another record like Carry the Ghost, I would have been like, yeah, that's cool, but I wouldn't have been as excited about it. But this, when I first listened to it, I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this shit. Like, it's so good. Like, oh, Noah, I love you. Thank you for continuing to put out great music. What up, birthday buddy? Literally, his birthday's the day after mine. Seriously, the day after mine, and we're the same age. I was like, wait, what? You've accomplished how much with your life? I have done nothing. You never have one of those when you like find out how old somebody is and you're like, wow, I feel really inadequate about my life. Yeah. This last album is one that if you have watched my videos consistently this year, you probably are not surprised about because I've probably made almost every single song on the album a song of the day at some point. And this is one that I don't own on vinyl, mainly because I just kind of kept listening to it in my car. And also they're Canadian and shipping from Canada is complicated. Diverge by Hawking. Okay, you guys, I don't know what it was about this record, because if you look at everything else that I listened to and everything else I've listened to for the last like 4 years, this is so outside of my wheelhouse usually. It's like mathy, progressive indie rock. Like, what? Like, who am I? This album, I think it has to do with the fact that A, they're my friends, so I just started listening to it to support them, and I was like, ouch, I really like this. Like, this is great. B, it's an album that I can scream, and Tom and I have very similar vocal ranges, so I can like sing in tune with Tom. I would put it on in my car so loud, and I would just blast that shit over and over and over again. And I think I just got to the point where I was listening to it so much that it was just always in my recent plays, so I was just too lazy to like click anything else, so I just kept listening to it. If you look at my top plays on Spotify of the year, the top 5 songs are all Hawking songs. Like, who am I? Honestly, who am I? If you like mathy, progressive indie rock, yeah, man. Check this shit out. I love these guys. Their videos have been on point this year. The album, I don't know what it was about it. I think it was just the timing was so good for me just feeling a lot of shit and wanting to scream a lot. Like one day I was actually driving, my boyfriend was in the car behind me and we're driving to something in Seattle. I had my windows down and I was listening to a song where there's a line. It's like, I need somebody to tell me it's gonna be okay or something. I need somebody to tell me everything will be okay. And then some girl on the street, I couldn't hear her. She goes, everything's gonna be okay. And like, I didn't hear her and I just drove away. And then my boyfriend called me, he's like, so there was a girl on the bus stop and just like sang along with you for a minute. I was like, what? What? That's awesome. If you wanna scream and shout and listen to some mathy, progressive indie rock, check out Hawking. Again, another example of fucking Canadian bands killing it, but nobody knows about it because Canadian bands don't ever play in the US. I mean, they do sometimes, it's just not very often. I feel really lucky that Sasquatch actually has Canadian bands play because there really aren't any other festivals around the area that bring in Canadian bands. So thanks, Sasquatch. As much as you sucked this year, you had great Canadian bands. But yeah, Hawking, fucking Diverge. It's a great record. Play it really loud. Buy it on vinyl if you can afford it. If not, play it on Spotify. Play the music videos. They're great. They're good dudes. Yeah. So those are my favorite records of 2017. I know there's gonna be some great ones coming out next year because I can already feel it. Typhoon has a new one coming out. I'm so excited. Tell me what some of your favorite albums of the year were in the comments below. I would love to hear if you've listened to any of the ones that I talked about, and that way we can just start a dialogue about like good music and stuff, because I want to try and start talking about music again because I like talking about it, but I just got disheartened for a while because like nobody was watching it. So it's like I would make a playlist and I was like, cool, this gets 200 views. Great. Also, let me know in the comments below any other music related videos that you would like me to do. Yeah, your song of the day is all of these. Spotify playlist in the link below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out my previous video. It was a bunch of fucking winter skincare for crusty skin, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!